We said there'd be reviews on Friday, and now it's Friday, and so we've got reviews. I'm here with Todd Vandenberg. I'm Rob Steele. Lee Vowell, guess what? He's still not with us. Damn him for having a life, or something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, we've got movies to talk about. So let's get started with... And I wanted to make a rap joke out of this, just because there's 3 Ks next to each other. But that would be, I'm sure, construed as racist to somebody. So Black Klansman with an extra K in the middle, just to make it look funky, I guess. Or have it make sense. You saw that this week, Todd.
I did see that this week. Rob,
tell us a bit about Black Klansman.
Black Klansman, and it has the extra K in the middle because it is about, to some extent, the KKK.
Hey.
It is based on a true story, which only came to light recently, of a black police officer who infiltrated the KKK, which seems kind of, as the poster says, crazy, outrageous, and incredible. But the way he basically is presented in the film, he sees a small little ad in a paper, in a local newspaper. This takes place in Colorado Springs in the 70s, to contact the KKK. They were running just small little classifieds. It's like, oh, interested in white supremacy? Call us at... basically, that's what it was. So on a whim, he made the phone call. And it's a terrific scene because he's in the squad room with 4 or 5 other police officers, and he goes on this hate-filled diatribe about how, I'm not going to say the word, but he uses the N-word a lot in this when he's talking about how much he hates all these various ethnic groups and how he really loves white America and blah, blah, blah. And the guy on the other end says, oh, we got to get together and blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, he can't get with them. So he gets another officer, a white officer, to come in and help him. So he is the phone contact, and the other officer is the contact in person, which is kind of like, why didn't you just have the other officer be the contact on the phone as well? But that's how it actually happened, so that's what they do in the film. It's a Spike Lee joint, which is an important notice. Spike Lee, great filmmaker, since, well, Do the Right Thing wasn't even his first movie, but that's just a huge, huge hit and an important film. And this, to me, this is his best movie since Do the Right Thing. He's made a lot of good movies in that range, but to me, this is his best movie in 20-odd years. So the acting is terrific. John David Washington, it plays the lead detective who started the investigation, and that is Denzel Washington's son. Doesn't really look like Denzel. Has some of his mannerisms, though, which is interesting. Based on this movie, I can't say he's as good as Denzel, but I don't really know if anybody is as good as Denzel anyway. He's terrific in this. I mean, this guy is really good. So John David Washington is someone to watch for sure. Adam Driver plays the other cop who helps him, the white cop, who turns out that he's Jewish, which is fun. And he's excellent in this. If you've only seen Adam Driver in the Star Wars films,
he's done other stuff that's good.
He's done a lot of other stuff that's good, and he is excellent in this. He is excellent. The whole cast is great. It's a really cool story about how this black cop is trying to do the right thing by infiltrating the KKK and taking them down because they pose, obviously, threats, and they're trying to assess, are they really a threat, or are they just guys making noise and shooting targets that look like black people for fun? And they find out, maybe there's a little bit of a threat. David Duke makes an appearance in the film.
Doesn't Topher-Grace play him?
Topher-Grace plays David Duke, and he's excellent in the film. Everybody is great in this movie. The movie ends with some interesting real footage, and I won't say what it is. And if you're interested in the movie, you probably already know what the real footage is. But it's a lot of people weren't expecting it, and it's very jarring to see this. There is an appearance by Harry Belafonte, which was awesome, and he plays a civil rights leader, which Harry Belafonte was. I mean, he wasn't Martin Luther King, but Harry Belafonte was very active in civil rights.
Yeah.
And so he gets a pretty intense role where he's relating the story of a lynching, and it's a really powerful scene. This is a great drama, has a lot of humor in it, and I wasn't sure how this was going to play out because it's such a ludicrous idea to begin with, a black cop infiltrating the KKK, but it is based on a true story. This really did happen, and this is not the details so much, but he made the call. He was the phone contact, and the white Jewish cop was the person who met them in person, and that's how it really played out. So again, there's a lot of humor in it, which fits Spike Lee's usual thing. I mean, he makes serious statements, he makes serious films, but there are enough moments, light moments in it to give you a chance to breathe. And it's not like a super tense film, but there are definitely some pretty suspenseful moments in the film. Just a great movie, and I would be shocked, especially since now we have up to 10 nominees. I'll be shocked if this is not nominated for Best Picture, and not for Best Popular Picture, but Best Picture just because it's good, as opposed to, wow, a lot of people saw this and it's not terrible, which like Meg might get one of those nominations. And Meg I want to see, sounds fun, but Black Klansman is an excellent movie. Can't recommend enough. It's just a great movie, and it is, despite the subject matter, because it's not about the KKK, it's about racism, and it's about racism in America today, as you'll see when you see the movie. It's not about racism in America in the 70s. Great movie, and really, really entertaining.
It's something I have actually been looking forward to seeing. I mean, I originally saw the title and went, there is no way I would want to see a movie
right
with that title. And then I watched the trailer and went, no, I got to see this now.
Yep. I
So.
wouldn't say it's a fun movie, but it has a lot of fun moments. So definitely worth watching, thought-provoking, and very entertaining, all in one.
So go see it.
Maybe
even MoviePass will cover it. No, MoviePass would never cover something like that. We tease MoviePass at this point now. That's
because we have to tease them while they still exist. I still hold with my prediction, by Labor Day they're gone. Anyway.
Yes. Moving on to something that is not in the least bit related to Black Klansman, because there's not a whole lot of segregation going on in this series of movies based on a TV show. And I brought this up because, as we mentioned on the Sunday show, which you should listen to as well, oddly enough also called Cinema-Savants. Who knew? The latest Star Trek movie is probably not going to happen because Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth said no. And you can't do an original series Trek movie without Captain Kirk. And I'm not going to touch the Kirk movies because that's for a different show. I did, however, watch my favorite of the Next Generation Trek movies, being Insurrection, which is the one most people hate the most. But I'm going to flip that a bit.
Flip it!
For, I think, a very good reason. The reason the movies got made was because they loved the TV series. And the TV series was not space battles and stuff. It was going places and finding a problem and fixing it in sci-fi kind of ways with space battles and stuff. They were incidental. They weren't even necessary most of the time. Every episode did not end with Mr. Worf fire phasers and photon torpedoes. It didn't have to happen, but that's what people apparently want the movies to be, and that's why I don't like the Next Gen movies as much, except Insurrection, which took some bits and pieces from the series of the Federation sending people to a planet that they think is not as developed as it is, and monitoring them, seeing how far along they are in their development, and then throwing in a lot of other social issues along the way.
Yeah, I was going to say Star Sociology just doesn't have that same snap to it, so I can see why they kept the title Star Trek.
Yeah, there was another title issue that they wanted to use with it, but I'll admit, it was 20 years ago. I've forgotten what it is. But to me, Insurrection was the most like a Next Generation episode. except this one was twice as long and had a budget for special effects. So it does have your big space battle that everyone wants to see, that's high budget, and ooh, look at the pretty ships explode. Fine. Yes, it does have some cheese moments in it as well, like I think for me the least necessary thing in the history of Trek movies happened in this one, with Commander Riker saying, access manual steering, and they give him a joystick from a mid-'80s PC video game to fly the ship with. And I kind of went, what the hell did you give him that for? And how is that any more accurate than the way you're doing it with the touchscreen keyboard that you've got at the the station in front of you?
Well, was it an analog controller? Because if it was, much more accurate, sir. Much more accurate.
No. No. I mean, yeah, there's some cheese moments. There's some goofy things, like one of the big problems they're having with the planet that they were observing is that it makes people younger because of the radiation and this, that, and the other. And Worf gets a zit. That's spectacular. Let's make a joke out of that. It doesn't last long, thankfully, and neither does the zit, because it disappears in the next scene.
Good.
Mysteriously. I actually saw no reason not to like this one, apart from the joystick, which of course was held by Riker, who got back together with Deanna Troi, but that's a different joystick altogether. So,
ooh,
I had to throw that in somewhere.
Family
so
show.
There it is.
Family show, sir.
Family. Well, anyway, that's the only sex scene we get in these movies. Kirk is not in them, and he's not going to be in any of the future ones either, apparently.
Now, see, what's going to happen is they will settle their contract disputes, and it'll be called Star Trek The Hotness.
Yeah, now that we've mentioned it on both shows.
They'll be forced to do it.
10 minutes after we finish recording, Chris Pine signs record deal, and we'll say, fine, screw him. So, anyway, a lot of people look at I think Generations is kind of skipped as a next-gen movie because it does have Kirk and Scotty and...
Yeah, it's the bridge movie.
Who else was it? Chekhov was in it, I think. And that one... I'm sorry, that one was kind of a crap movie. But a lot of people loved First Contact as being, oh, that's the definitive next-generation movie because they fight the Borg for, 10 minutes at the beginning of the movie when they start with a big climactic space battle.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not even that long. And then they go back in time to meet Zefram Cochrane again, because we've already met him in the original series.
Yeah.
And we spend the rest of the movie either trying to get Zefram Cochrane to not chicken out and make his first warp drive thing, or follow Picard on the Enterprise, which is slowly being taken over by the Borg, but we don't really get any fights with the Borg. You know, in the way that we should. We get that one scene in the holodeck with a machine gun. Really? A machine gun.
Fits with a joystick from the other movie.
Almost as much. I mean, it started climactic and went downhill as opposed to starting downhill and working up to the climax.
Yeah.
Or was that just me? Did you get that feeling?
I got that feeling. I don't really care for that movie at all.
Oh, well, that's good. Just completely destroying my feeling of how everyone felt about that. So anyway, then there's Nemesis, which I had forgotten Tom Hardy was the bad guy in that movie. Very young Tom Hardy playing a clone of Patrick Stewart. Really? Just seemed kind of odd.
Very odd.
At least they worked up to the battle scene at the end. I'll give them that, and it was a good one. But I don't know, the action and the plot of that one seemed strained and like forced, and it just, I don't know. Did you get that feeling out of Nemesis? To me, it just wasn't. It didn't work for some reason that I can not remember.
I'm getting a drift here that you don't really care for a lot of the
next gen movies,
which I don't either. They never have done that much for me. But to be honest, and you may cut me off at this point, I've never really been a big fan of the series. I mean, I like it okay, and I like Picard, but it's really basically the only character that I really liked in the entire thing. I like Picard a lot, by far the best thing of it. And I like the concept, but I just didn't like the way they pulled it off.
To me, I thought it was more consistent than the original series, because the original series would have a tremendous episode.
No argument there.
Followed by
a crap.
We found a planet full of Chicago-based gangsters.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you were going there because, my God, how could that not be the poster child for bad shows?
Next Gen didn't do that.
A piece of the action, though. A piece of the action. It's just great to see Spock dressed up. Anyway. Yeah.
What is a Nazi?
A piece of the action. At least had a good title. That's about the only thing that particular episode had for it. But anyway.
See, what I'm waiting for is for some sort of right-wing group to get a hold of a picture of Leonard Nimoy in the Nazi uniform and say, "Look at what Star Trek has become." Mm-hmm. Leonard Nimoy was a Nazi. See, we told you, and you'll go, "No." Anyway, I digress. Yeah, I liked Next Gen better than the original series. I did, because of the consistency. And I was around for the first... I was around for it. I wasn't around for the original series. I watched it in reruns and probably out of order. Not that seemed to make much of a difference.
No, not really. Wouldn't make much difference in that show.
But, so if you want a good Next Gen movie, I would actually go and liked Next Gen the series. Insurrection. And you don't really even need to see the first two.
Woo!
So, there we go. There's our reviews, and we'd have more, but Lee decided not to show up again.
That dirty SOB. Life-having person.
Yeah, well, Ted's not here either, so...
Let's not even start on Ted.
Yeah.
Ted is being a moral person. He's actually in church, so,
Oh, wow. Darn, you gave it away that we're recording on a Sunday morning.
These terrible people. He could be going to services on a Friday evening.
Damn, I gave it away. Anyway, we'll be back on Sunday at our normal time to do new stuff, for hopefully more things will happen that don't involve James Gunn and Disney and Chris's, yeah. And Jumanji, because that was just weird. So we'll see you on Sunday. Have a good weekend. Go see a movie.
That's pretty much it.